Hello and welcome to Testify TV. This is where you look and live, and it's always such a great joy to have you join us. My name is Sharon Naitore Wangenye, and a blessed new year to you. Thank you for joining us for the Asian Testify. It comes to you every third Thursday of the month. And today we're set for a great time because we have with us Rohan.
Hi, thank you,
Hi,
Sharon. It's
good
so
to
great
have
to
you.
be here. It's a privilege, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So I just mentioned that you're Rohan.
Yes.
Maybe just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Rohan. I'm from the UK. I live in Southeast London. But I was born in India, in Kerala, South India. So I'm from a South Indian background. And when I was really young, like around 2 years old, we moved to the UK. So my mum had a job. She works as a nurse, and the UK doesn't have many nurses. So many people were going to England. So then she came to England, and she brought my dad and my brother along with me, and I've grown up in Southeast London throughout like my whole life now, and it's really amazing, and I love it
All right.
so much. Yeah.
Great. So you're in Kenya
Yes.
attending a conference?
Yes.
How long have you been here?
So I came on the 28th of December, so almost 2 weeks now. But I was attending a conference and running the youth work for this conference, and it was really amazing. So yeah, just to meet with kids that grew up in Africa and just speak to them and meet with them, and also like what I can do after as well, and just spend time with the locals of Kenyan. And it's just been amazing. I love it. Yeah.
All right. So you must have learned some Swahili.
Yeah. Yes, I have.
Habari yako?
Habari yako, habari asbui
Habari
as
asubuhi.
well, kwaheri, like the local, terms that you can get by. And my favorite one is, I was remembering it yesterday, is sawa.
Sawa.
Sour. Everyone says sour to everything. You can say sour to everyone, but it's really good.
They
And
say what it means?
it's like fine,
Yeah.
but you can say it to anything. So everyone
Yeah.
says sour,
Sawa.
but also sasa, and they say poa. That's like wow,
Awesome. You're
yeah.
doing well.
Because we have a term like that, so we'll just go and say like, "Yo, what are you saying?" That's
Yeah.
like our slang,
Yeah.
and then you'll just be like, "Yeah, I'm chilling, I'm good." So it's basically the alternate for that.
Right.
So it's really good. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Doing well.
Yeah,
Pretty
I'm getting there,
well.
I'm getting there.
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Karibu. Do you know what that means?
Karibu. It means welcome, isn't it?
Awesome. I just welcomed you.
Oh yes, thank you. But
Okay.
what does Karibu Sana mean?
Karibu sana means you're very welcome.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically that's it.
So if you say Karibu, what do I say?
Karibu say asante.
Asante. Asante.
Yeah,
Ah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Awesome. Yes, you are. So take us through growing up. How was it growing up?
Wow. Okay. So I grew up in a borough called Lewisham, and when you think of England, you probably think fairyland, like everything is easy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it was not like that. In fact, my borough, when I was growing up, had the highest under 18 pregnancy rate in all of Europe. We had stabbings like every single day. Had people in my own class that I studied with that got stabbed and passed away.
Really?
And yeah, it's rough out there, kind of thing. And I think this is a universal issue, like everywhere. Just because we're in England or the America or wherever, like it doesn't mean it's all perfect. But there's a lot of broken people and homes, and a lot of the people that I studied with all came from single parent households. So that was not good. And as a result, it's so hard to place your feet firm in where you are and where you stand as a person. But growing up in an environment, in a school where you're surrounded like that, it's so easy to become a product of your society, to join a gang, to indulge in like drinking and smoking and stuff like that. So that's like the area that I grew up in, and like there was a lot of violence and danger. But I also grew up in a Christian household, so it was.
You said your parents were Orthodox.
Yeah, my parents are Orthodox Christians, so they grew up as Orthodox Christians, and Orthodox is from Thomas the Apostle, so they're Syrian Orthodox. So as Thomas moved from Syria all the way down to India, he went all the way down to Kerala, which is where I'm from, and they're very traditional in the way they do stuff. They're amazing as well, but they grew up like that, and in 2011 they changed, and they just felt they wanted more kind of thing, and to fully explore like Jesus and not be constricted to traditions and stuff, but to actually seek Jesus, who he is as a person. So growing up, I kind of shuffled with all of that. We went to Orthodox church, we went to a non-denominational church. That's where we go now. We go to a non-denominational church, which is amazing, and we get people from all over the world, many different ethnicities, all coming together in Jesus. And growing up in a church and mixing with the world is like two very difficult things to mix with.
Yeah.
And I can imagine a lot of young people struggle with that. How do I stand firm in my faith in the world that I live in when all my friends are doing this? And but yeah, that's literally growing up with society and mixing nature and nurture together, and where Jesus stands in all of that.
Yeah. All right. So you say a bit of you was in church, here, there.
Yeah.
So what kind of image or picture was painted in you? What were you looking forward to eventually?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I was a church kid kind of thing, and people knew that I went to church and stuff, but it's usually the general impression on Christianity is looked down on in the UK. Although England's a Christian country, it's just not many people go to church, and not many people know Jesus in church as well. But
so you have people in church, but they don't know Jesus.
Jesus, yeah. It's,
wow.
We have people that are, in England's a Christian country, but how many people actually know Jesus? We've got people that go to church on Christmas Day, and that's it. They don't go to church any other day. We've got people that are Christians that don't even go to church. So it's like there's many different beliefs and where you stand, but it's not about Christianity as a religion.
Right.
It's about that relationship that you have with Jesus.
Definitely.
and knowing Jesus. But growing up in school, we had many different ethnicities and religious people. And in fact, the borough that I live in is full of immigrants that come together and have just grown up together. So it's normal to have culture, to have a background, to have a religion, and just growing up with each other. So being from a faith background was somewhat normal, but it's how far, deep are you willing to go into that? Are you a devoted Muslim? Are you a devoted Christian?
Okay.
Many are just atheists. Many wear a cross in their neck and are not even Christian.
Yeah.
So it's like a big mix of everything.
Right. Okay. So with this growing up, torn between, let me just call it the world and the church, and not knowing where to really put your faith, how did you then get to a point where you decided, I want to have this Jesus for real?
Okay, so growing up in church as well, I grew up with a lot of head knowledge, and that's a very common thing that a lot of young generation Christians have. Just because my parents are Christian, does that mean I'm a Christian? Just because I go to church, does that mean I'm a Christian? So, in fact, my parents raised me in a proper Christian household. I have a brother who's 1 year older than me, and my mom would read us Bible passages and ask us questions, and we would do Bible quizzes together. And we were like the top kids. We would answer every single question in the quiz. We'll get full marks and stuff like this, and we'll just joke around and play around and stuff like that. So we had good Bible knowledge kind of thing. But at one point I questioned myself. I was like, do I really know Jesus? Why am I following Jesus? And back then I wanted to follow Jesus because I wanted to get into heaven. It was like, if I follow Jesus, that means I'm safe. I don't have to go to hell.
Okay.
I don't have to burn for the rest of my life. I've made it. That's my ticket to heaven. But then it's like, is that really why I'm following Jesus? Is it out of fear? And no, I really had to question it. And one time I was just like, Jesus, I really want to know more about you. If you're there, let me experience you.
Yeah. That's
so
just a conversation between you and Jesus.
Me and Jesus, yeah. I speak to him all the time now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But it's just, I want to know more. I don't want all this head knowledge, if I don't even know who you are. So I think I wanted more heart knowledge. And to gain that heart knowledge was when it changed everything. And I went to a youth camp when I was 13, 14. My church did youth camps, and we called it Soul Survivor. And we had Christians from all over the UK and the world that came over to this youth camp, around 10,000 people. And we're all in a big tent just worshipping Jesus. And I still remember in one of those worship tents, and the evenings, they were like, if you want to give your life to Jesus, go forward. And classic. I remember the first night, I was like, you know when they offer that opportunity, your heart starts beating quickly. Right. So then I'm like, okay, shall I go? I didn't end up going. No. Then I was like, it's fine, whatever. And then the third night they offered it again. They were like, if you want to give your life to Jesus, why don't you come forward? And my heart's beating again. I'm like, what do I do? And then at the last minute, I didn't end up going. Still didn't end up going. And
what was holding you back?
I don't know. It's just my inner pride, like going up in front of everyone, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to raise your hand or walk in front of 10,000 people and your own
Yeah.
friends are looking at you thinking like, what's going on, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I still remember going back to my own tent that night and I'd be like, oh, Jesus, I'll do it next time. If you give me one more chance, I'll do it. And then luckily on the fifth day it came and, you know, they offered the opportunity to give your life to Jesus. And I was like, oh, Lord, I want more than just a church thing. I don't want it just to be my head knowledge, but I want more of you and I want to give my life to you. So I gave my life to Jesus at 13. And even in one of the worship nights, like experiencing the love of God, that's the game changer. Like as soon as I experienced it, that changed everything. It was like, this is real. This is not just a book. This is not just, you know, a man that came down. This is a real supernatural encounter that I can have. So that was me giving my life to Jesus at 13.
So what happened on the 5th day that made you want to go? Actually gather the courage to go.
It's like, I spoke to God about it for 4 nights, you know, leading to this 5th night. And it was almost like if I didn't go, I would have let myself down entirely.
Right.
But it's like, I really wanted to go as well. You know, I just wanted to give my life to God. It's just, can I build up the courage to go and do it? And I was like, there's too many opportunities missed. Like, I can't back out. This is it. You know, I want to do this. And in the midst of all the adrenaline rush, I was like, I don't care what anyone thinks. I don't care what my friends think or what my brother thinks. I'm going for it. And I remember walking to the front.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
You mentioned something, and it's pretty, you know, true. Even in our country, in our society, the continent we live in, you know, not a lot of young people, you know, would be bold enough to say, I want this Jesus. You know, they want to hide behind the curtains and all. So how was it for you coming out as a young person who's saying, I want Jesus for myself?
Wow. To be honest, I don't think I comfortably said that until I was like 18 years old.
Yeah.
Being a teenager, you just want to fit in, you know, you just want to blend in with society.
Right.
And they know I'm Christian, but I've never evangelized or said about the gospel. You know, if you ask me what religion I am, I would say I'm Christian. I go to church. That's it. And if you ask me, then I will tell you, but I wouldn't actively spread that joy that I had, the faith that I had. And in fact, it was a lot of like walking, you know, when you give your life to Jesus, you're walking it out, you're figuring it out, you're still young. I don't think I had it all at 13 years old when I gave it to, when I gave my life to Jesus. You know, I was still figuring it out, as in what happens next. You know, what about heaven, hell, and like what's my calling, what's my purpose, all of this, and but at 15 I got baptized. I was like, okay, Jesus, I know that regardless, this was what I said. I was like, regardless of what happens, you're definitely real, and nothing's gonna change my belief in that there's no God. And I love you and I want to live for you. That's what I said. Whether it goes up or down, I know that I will run back to you and I want to give my life. So I got baptized at 15.
All right.
But just because I got baptized, like, it didn't mean that it became perfect, you know. In fact, after you get baptized, it gets even harder to live that life worthy of your purpose, to live a life worthy of Christ, you know. That means to turn away from the world. But 15, 16, 17 is like the hardest years, you know. You mature, you're around you're a late teenager, and now your parents have less of a control over you. You know, you have like a longer curfew of when you can go back home, and my friends are like, oh, we got a party, like, do you want to come? And I'm just like, oh, yeah, I want to come, you know, I want to come. And like, I still remember after we finished our exams, we would party like every other day. You know, we had no school, nothing, and we'd just be going out and who's hosting, let's go here, which pub are we going, and we'll just go celebrate and you know, just chill. But then it was just I felt like I was a Sunday Christian. On Sunday I would be like, oh, Jesus, like, I love you. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way to Saturday was just like, what am I even doing? Like, am I living a life worthy of Christ? You know, am I becoming the best role model for Christ? Am I giving him my everything during the week? And over time it was just this is not what I want. And I still remember through all of this partying and stuff, it's all temporary. It only gets you so far. And like, even at the end of a night, you know, you've drunk so much and you have a hangover, and it's just like, was it even worth it? You know, are these people really the best people for me? Is what I'm doing the best thing that glorifies the one that I love? Am I happy? And you know, it's all temporary satisfaction, and like, that's happiness. Happiness is temporary. But I wanted more than that. I wanted a joy. You know, and joy is God, spending time in the presence of God. And I was just like, oh Lord, I want I want more. And when I was 18, we did a missions outreach thing. I was invited for this thing. My friend was like, Rohan, why don't you come along? It's just young people gathering together. And I was like, oh, another social event. Let me go. And I went. And when I got there, there was just a bunch of youth that was like 11 to 16. I was like the older one. And I was thinking,
what am I doing?
You brought me to the wrong place. Like, I thought there was going to be food and stuff like this. And, you know, I feel like a babysitter right now in this event. And that was like the first introductory event for the thing. And then a couple of weeks later, they were like, this is the main thing. Would you like to do it? And I was like, you know what, I'm doing nothing. Let me go and like give it a go. So I gave it a go, and it was just a week of teaching and reaching out to the community and doing community work. And as I was doing it, it was like God was definitely speaking, and it was, you know, I had such a joy and such a peace in doing this. And I was like, I could do this every day of my life if I wanted and be fine and not have, you know, any stress, any burdens about that. And the whole message that spoke out to me throughout that in your everyday life. And that's that testimony that I carry. Like, you know, I didn't want to be a 20% on a Sunday Christian throughout the week. You know, I wanted to be 100% every day of my life. And what did that look like? And it was at a time where I was getting ready to go to uni. And I still remember saying to God, like, God, university is so hard. You know, everyone's out partying. Like, how am I not going to get sucked up into society and stand firm in my faith if I give my life to you? And the plan was always to give my life to Jesus when I turn like 30, 40.
Yeah.
You know, I've had a wife, I had kids, you know, I've got nothing to lose. Jesus, like, you can take me, take the rest. And it was just like, oh, wow. Like, I know that God is always faithful, and he's been faithful to me like every day of my life. And it was, if I gave my life to Jesus at 30, 40, I know that he would be faithful to me from then, and he would carry me and show me his goodness from then. But it was just like, I asked myself, what would happen if I give my life to you now in my 18s, you know, and how much further would you carry me as a result? You know, I would have had an extra like 22 years of living for Christ wholeheartedly, 100%. And the real answer was, you know, God would carry me through it all. You know, he'll show me more of his goodness. And I was like, Lord, I don't know if I go uni or not. Like, regardless what happens, you know, I'm willing to commit, and I surrender everything to you. And I just said that in the midst of all my partying season, in the midst of all my friends and everything, I was like, you know, nothing else matters right now. Like, you're the only thing that matters. I want to give my life to you 100%. And bear in mind, this is after I've got baptized and stuff, you know. Even giving your life to Jesus, it doesn't mean it goes perfect. The journey is like ups and downs and ups and downs. And, you know, until I was 18, like, that's when I was, you know, this is it. This is the real deal. You know, I'm an adult now. I'm responsible for my decisions, and this is what I want. And that was the best decision I ever made in my life, ever. To have a peace, to have a joy, to have such a freedom in walking with Christ. And, you know, one thing I was reading, you know, peace is not the absence of your problems. And you can't keep running away from things to get peace. But peace, in fact, is the presence of someone. And that someone is Jesus. And the more I spend time with him, the more peace I get, the more joy I get. And, you know, to just constantly be in conversation with him throughout my day. You know, I don't just allocate 10 minutes before I sleep to Jesus. You know, I can constantly speak to Jesus when I'm walking, you know, when I'm going to campus, when I'm going to work or wherever, you know, like, Jesus, like, thank you for everything, and just praying. And, you know, it's a constant conversation. It's a relationship. Jesus is not just someone that I have in church on a Sunday. It's someone I have every single day. He's my best friend, literally, and he knows me perfectly. And, you know, just to have that freedom with him is just amazing. All right, taking you back to you growing up in the UK, and you said church is not as much, you know, not as many Christians, and now you have made this decision and said, Jesus, for real, this time, for real, I am with you. So how did you journey through without, you know, sliding back and mixing yourself up again? Yeah, it was really hard, because when you know, you have a good Sunday and you're like, this, like, Jesus, you're amazing, you know. And then as soon as you get back to Monday, school is like, you know, people are swearing around you and indulging in like the wrong things, or, you know, like messing about, and you sort of want to mess about with them because it's funny, and, you know, cause trouble and nuisance, and like there's a fun in it. But like, it's so hard. In fact, the reality is, it's really hard being a young person. You know, where do you float? Being in a Christian household and being in a worldly world, a secular world, where do you float? And yeah, like just finding your ground is a tricky thing. But I think over time, like I learned and I built up endurance, and like the more I ran away, the more I knew that this was wrong. And the more I ran away, the more I knew I had to run back. So it's just, it was an ongoing cycle of running away from God and running back to God, running away from God, running back to God. And the answer was always the same. When I ran away, where did I get? You know, I got temporary satisfaction, I got hurt, I got trauma, you know, I got like anxiety and depression and all these things. And when I ran back to God, what did I get? You know, I got peace, I got joy, I got love. And after you do it a couple of times, you realize that, you know, this, like, what am I even doing with my life? What am I trying to, you know, live for that and live for this and live for that and live for this? And eventually you get to, like, I came to the realization that this is the right thing. And I want to live for that. And, like, to a point where, you know, I wasn't afraid of my friends or anything, or saying what I believed and the things I did. You know, I was like, this is it. You know, I'm ready to live for this. And I'm ready to tell you more about it, and why don't you come to church and stuff like that. So
and before then, before you got the courage to even talk to your friends about it, had you gotten in trouble? Like, did they make fun of you? Did they mock you? Did they
I feel like my example was probably not the best, because I was a Christian that mixed with all of these things. So it's just, Rohan's a Christian, but is he like, but he's so chill, he's so free flowing, you know, he's doing all of this, like he's spending time with us, he's laughing, you know, he's not like a holy boy, you know. The general impression is, if you're a Christian, you're holy, you know, you're priest's son or something like this, you're an altar boy or something. But, you know, Rohan is still spending time with us, you know, he's still like mixing with us, like he's, you could look at Rohan and be like, he's not Christian. We didn't know, but when I say that I'm Christian, it's just like, wow, okay. But there's a mix in that, because sometimes you're doing the right thing, and sometimes you're doing the wrong thing. Sometimes you're influencing the people around you, and sometimes you're being influenced by the people around you. And there was many seasons where I'm being influenced, and that's hard, because best example as a Christian, and you're just getting pulled into all these secular worldly things, and, you know, parties and everything. But then it gets to a point where you become the influencer, and the people around you see the light in your life. They see something different. They see a joy that they don't have, kind of thing, and they want more of that. But I think like with trial and error, you get to a point where you realize, you know, this is it, and I don't want that anymore. So all right, just hold it right there, because we have to take a very quick break. We'll be back in a few. Stay with us.
Let's gather together and sing praises, worship, and hear God's word.
You, as a representative of the body of the church, represents the church wherever you are.
In Deuteronomy chapter 6, we're reminded that God has invested this expectation on our lives. We are then to pass it on to our children.
Here on Sitam Broadcast Service. Join us every Sunday from 10 a.m. for impactful, life-changing CBS Family Service on Hope FM and Hope TV, where you look and live.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. If you just joined us, Karibu sana. And if you missed a bit of Rohan's story, not to worry, because you can just go back a few minutes on YouTube or Facebook and you'll be able to watch the entire story. So welcome back.
Thank you.
We were at, where you finally made the decision and said, you know what, now Jesus, this is it, for real. And so how was the journey right after that?
Okay, so at 18, after many ups and downs, this is the real deal. So I still remember praying. The prayer was, I don't know about university, but regardless of university, I'm ready to give it to you and live for you. That's what I said.
What happened? Why did you think you were not going to? Okay, why did you think if I go to university or not?
Because like it gets to a point where there's a defining moment. The love is so much where you're like, nothing can
Right.
change
Right.
my love for Jesus right now.
Yeah.
You know,
Whichever way it goes.
whichever way it
All
goes,
right, I
it
get
gets to a
it.
point where, you know, I love Jesus so much that no one can change the way that I believe right now. Not even university, not even the world, not even my
Right.
parents can believe it. You know, it was a point where, regardless of what my parents say, I have my faith of my own. I don't have my faith because my parents have it. I don't have it because the country has it or the world has it or my friends have it. I have it because I have it, because I love Jesus. That's where you need to get to the point. Like, ask yourself, why do you believe what I believe? Do you believe it because you love Jesus, or do you believe because you're scared of hell, or you know, you're scared of your parents, and because my friends around me are Christian, or because I go to church on a Sunday? That doesn't make you Christian.
Right.
You're Christian because you love Jesus and you want to follow him and give everything to him. Deny yourself and pick up your cross and follow him.
Absolutely.
But it was so hard, especially with uni coming around the corner. How do I mix with uni? Because uni, like, this was just a trial run, you know, to 18 when you're a kid, trial run of the secular world. When you jump into uni, this is like the real deal. This is the membership package, you know. So it's just how can I, you know, stand firm in this membership package? And like, the love was so much that it was just, you know, regardless of what happens, I'm ready to live for you in uni. I don't know if I will make it. I don't know if I'll make it, but I trust you, and I want to try my best in this, for real.
Yeah.
And then, like, I was praying about the uni and my grades come in, and back then I wanted to go to a university called Bristol, and I wanted to do a course called Economics with Innovation. And me and my friend, we both agreed to go to this uni, and we were like, we're getting the grades and we're going, and we're going to party together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the grades that they wanted was like A star AA. It was like a high requirement. And I remember praying about my grades, and I was like, I didn't even pray, Jesus, let me get an A star AA. I just prayed, Jesus, I want the best grades for me, and if that's an A star AA, let it be. But if it's not, like, I'm happy. I'm praying that you'll give me the best grades. I really tried in this exam as well. And when results day came, I didn't get the grades. I just missed it by a small margin. And usually, if you miss it, sometimes the uni just takes you in as like a extra, and it'll be fine. But the uni didn't take me in, so I was thinking, oh wow, like, I'm not going to Bristol. What's that? So then I got into my insurance uni, which was University of Leeds. And the best part was, later that day, they sent an email out, and because it was COVID time, they had an excess number of students due to COVID, and they were offering students a deferral package to skip a year of uni, and in return they give you some amount of money, and they give you free accommodation for your first year. So then I remember, like, just going back and be like, Mum, like, the university wants to give me money, you know, I just have to go next year. And my parents were like, go to uni, you don't study, you know, just finish your studies and get it done with. But, you know, after like a careful time of thinking and speaking around to like my friends and my advisors and stuff like that, they were like, this is a great offer, take it. And I prayed about it, and I was like, Jesus, is this you, kind of thing, you know? I thought I was going uni, but like, now you've given me this, and you've given me this money and this thing, and like what now, kind of thing. And I prayed through it, and like, Jesus was like, take the offer. And I took the offer, and I was like, this year is for you, like, use me. I was just like, God, like, I've given my life to you, you're not taking me to uni, I don't want to just waste a whole year of working, you know, just use me. And the first thing he put onto my heart was youth work.
Youth work.
And you know, I was saying, I went to this gathering, and it was just kids and youth, and I felt like the babysitter. I used to hate youth work. I used to hate kids 11 to 16, 17, 18. I just felt they just run around and just make trouble, and just, you know, they think they're cool, but they're not. They're at the age where like, like, I'm so cool. But when you get to like 17, 18, I think it's like the moody teenage years, you know, that's boring. Like, you just want to do your own thing and stuff like that. But it was just, Lord, please, no, like, not youth work. Why youth work? But he was just like, just go for it. And I was working during the time. I used to work in a watch shop. I would sell watches. That was my, you know, my general job, trying to get money in the year. And then on Fridays and Sundays, I would go to the youth group and the youth club, and just attend. Initially, it was really hard to mix in, you know. I would see some kids, and in my head, like, thoughts would be running like, if I could, I would kill this kid right now. Like, it was just like that. this kid, he thinks he's so funny, he's not funny at all. And I would
Yeah.
get so irritated. But then over time, like week in, week out, I started going, and like slowly, like there was like a passion that grew in my heart for youth work, to see them
wow.
change, to see them develop, to have conversation, to hear them out, to know more about them. I don't know, just like a passion like grew. And there's a verse that he says that he'll give you the desires of your heart. And initially I didn't have like those desires, but the more I seek Jesus, the more his desires became my desires, to love the young people, to love the youth. And youth is like a really important age. Teenage years are like the make or break of who you are as a person. If you had weak teenage years, you're like the adulthood, like get ready for this roller coaster kind of thing. But if you had like good defining teenage years, like wow, you're set for uni, you're set for whatever. And like also, what was I going to say? When you're a teenager, I don't think teenagers have enough attention, enough focus.
Right.
A lot of the time they just want to be heard. And I still remember growing up, I just wanted people to hear me, and I felt like there was no one there for me, kind of thing. I went to youth group, but like to genuinely care for who I am as a person, to ask me questions. I was a bit of an introvert growing up, and I just wanted people to spend time with me, sit with me, and chat with me. I wanted to make people laugh, and like as I started getting older, I realized I wasn't a kid anymore. So like, where do I fit into all of this? But to know that there's youth like that are like me, and that I can meet their needs and ask them questions and build relationships and share the love that I have with them and the love that I have for them as well, was just really rewarding. And so I started doing that more and more, and like youth work slowly like grew. And for the past couple of years I've just been a youth worker. So I think it became a lot more like better when I gave everything to him, not half, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It was 2 feet in for Jesus. And then like I did travels in the gap year. So usually in the UK, when you take a gap year, you travel somewhere. You work the whole year and you travel. And I asked God, God, where shall I travel? Where do I go? And I didn't want to just go for a holiday. I didn't want to just go to party in a club in the other end of the world, I wanted to go for a deeper purpose. I wanted to go for Jesus. So I got in contact with people, and I found out where I could serve. And the place that he put really on my heart was Brazil. So I went out to Brazil and Colombia, the 2 countries, and we had friends, thank God for that. And just serving in a favela, in a community. Favelas are like the slums in Brazil's, and they don't have a lot, but they have so much joy. And to see how a project that is focused on Jesus can have such a positive impact on the community, because there's a lot of like gun violence and like gangs and stuff like that. It's really bad. But to see how much of an impact this project can have on this huge community is great, and to see lives change, to see people give their lives to Jesus and stuff is really amazing. But to just be in an environment where they have less, to learn how privileged I am as well. Growing up in the UK, that there's suffering on the other end of the world, but to see it and experience it is like another thing, game-changing thing. But also to just do youth work and spend time with the locals, and just live my life as a Christian, like with 2 feet in, was just really amazing. And I loved it. But I've just done that whole year of doing youth work for a year and traveling to countries, and it set me up for uni. And this is like, wow, back to square one. Back to a year ago I was supposed to go. So how do I approach this? And that was a lot of ups and downs, and like trying to figure it out. But I knew where my limit was. I knew where my boundary was, and I set those boundaries for me. And I don't think I've crossed those boundaries entirely. There was a couple nights where I'll still go out clubbing and stuff, and it's just your friends are going, so you'll go. But it got to a point where now I don't even like drinking. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with drinking. If you want to drink, you can drink. But it was just, I would ask myself, like, why am I drinking now? What's my reason of drinking? Is it so that I can get a bit like tipsy and start chatting better? But I realized that my personality was me for me, and I didn't need alcohol or anything to drive me forward to chat to people. Or and then over time, like one commitment I made at the start of the year was to quit everything, quit clubbing, quit like smoking and drinking and stuff like that. And it's been great so far. But I think over time you get convictions. The more you walk with Jesus, the more you walk with His Holy Spirit. You get convictions of what's right, and it's different for every single person, you know. Just because, like, I still know Christians that go clubbing, kind of thing. But it's what convicts you, what's right for you, what's wrong for you. And you only get that the more you walk with Him, the closer you are in His presence. The more your heart begins to break for what breaks His, kind of thing. And you have a greater control on what, you know, if alcohol is my weaker area, let me cut that out. And be willing to cut it out. Surrender it, you know, give it to Jesus and let Him take the wheel. But also play your factor in controlling yourself as well.
Yeah. The more you walk with Him, the more you become like Him.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
it.
Amazing. So that's what you're doing up to now?
Yeah, so now I'm a uni student as well. I've been studying for 2 years now, and I do youth work on my Christmas breaks when I'm in uni sometimes as well. But yeah, I'm like a part-time youth worker, full-time student.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that what brought you to Kenya?
So Kenya was an interesting story. I was going through a really rocky season in my life, going from July. I didn't even think I'd be in that situation, kind of thing, and like it was a really hard season, and that was like, it was a season where usually when something goes wrong, I run away. I'm the first person to run away. Like, God, you messed me up right now. All right, so flashback back into 2023 around February, and I've just lived 2022, the best year of my life, and I'm in uni now and I'm doing well. And a new thing that I did was, you know, run to the Word, reading the Bible. I think over my teenage years, reading the Bible was really hard. I struggled with it, and I couldn't be bothered to read it. It was just a book. But I don't know, like a passion came to just read it day in, day out, and to run to God with the Word, in the Word as well. So I started building the habit, and I feel like it was a season, February, March, I was on fire for God. Like, I was so deep in my relationship, like no one could stop me, not even the devil could stop me. Like I was so strong. And then like I went through many stages of my life, like, you know, partying and stuff, to know how to overcome that and advice. But I enter a new stage of my life which I don't really have many experience, and that was relationships. And there was this girl that I met, and she was like the prettiest girl ever, kind of thing. She was like perfect, and she was on fire for God as well, and she had a Christian family, Christian background, and we got on so well. And like, if there was a prayer requirement, this was everything that fit the prayer requirement. And I never said how I felt or anything. And over time, she started peeling her layers, and it got to a point where I was confident. Like, I knew like this was the one. And I still remember, like, we got into a relationship and stuff, and yeah, like it was a good season in my life. And then obviously after a while, you know, things come to the surface and maybe it doesn't work out. And there's times where I know what went wrong, and there's times where I didn't know what went wrong, and there's times where you both can be in the right and still be in the wrong. And this was a season that I had no clue and no expertise, but I was just figuring it out. But I feel like even in that time, where God was the first priority in like February, March, slowly, maybe he started drifting into second place. That's what I found. And if God's not first, he's not your priority. That's one thing I learned. You know, God has to be your first. And if he's not first, then he's not your priority. And I think God took it away, which was a really hard season.
Wow.
And like, it's like I almost forgot what it was like to walk by myself, to be content by myself. And, you know, it was like, I was sure. It was like, I was sure this is the girl, this is the woman for me. And before, I never really like partaked with like other girls and stuff. Like, if they weren't worth it, then it wasn't for me, you know. Yeah. But this one was everything. But then when it broke, it was like I forgot how to stand again, and how to run back to God, and how to just be alone, you know, to be happy alone, spend alone time. And like, it was a real heartbreaking moment coming back to university, being in the same social groups, and, you know, being in the same church as well. Like, how do you see me? How do your friends see me? Do they even know the story, you know? And it was so hard, and I've never been through anything like that as well, in my life, to know. But, you know, it's just a season of just walking. You walk it and you figure it out. And in the midst of all of this, I still remember when it was a defining moment, and I was walking back home, like, oh, it's gone, it's finished. And
what is gone?
Like the relationship, you know, the relationship is gone. And I I was just saying to God, God, what the flip? Like, what's going on right now? Why did I have to go through all of that to then come back, land here in the mud? And it was a heartbreaking moment for me. And I still remember waking up in the morning and I was like, okay, Rohan, how long are you going to run from God in this situation? And it was just, it wasn't worth running to know that I was going to run back. So then I still remember I woke up that morning and I ran to God and I just spent time in his presence, chatting to him, just pouring out how I felt. But that was the season of me running back to God. In the valleys, in the worst moments. That's probably like the hardest moment for me as a Christian. Not the relationship, but learning to walk again. That was really hard. But I still remember running to God again and again and spending time with him and like hearing his voice and like following his will and where he's calling me and stuff. And I never thought that I would travel in 2022. In 2023, I always had the dream of traveling because I've just traveled the previous year. So I was like, God, like, where are you going to take me this year? I'm ready for wherever. But, like in those last couple months, it was just like, God, like, this is just plain. This is boring. There's nothing going on. Like, what's going on? But, I still ran to him. And then all of a sudden I got a call one day and, an opportunity came up to run the youth work in a conference in Kenya. And I'm like, when you hear this, but the first thing you think is, man, this is not real. This is too good to be real. It was like, nobody will really invite me to go to another end of the UK to do it. I'll just do it in my local area, let alone Kenya. But then I spoke to the lady that signed me up, and I met her at another conference, which I did the youth work and kids work for like the last 2 years in the summer. And she's a cross-cultural worker in Burundi. And she comes to this conference as well. And she put me in contact with the main lady that was responsible. And I chatted to her and they were like, we're really looking for someone. And like, Rohan, you fit the description for that. Would you like to come out to Kenya?
Wow.
And I don't even know at this point, like, life is so rough and you want me to go Kenya and I've got uni and I'm dealing with social burdens. But, I prayed about it. I was like, God, like, Kenya, like, why Kenya of everywhere? And over time, God was just giving me the green light, just go for it. And to do youth work in it, that was the best part, I don't like traveling just to see all the touristy stuff. The touristy stuff is boring for me. But to spend time with the people, doing the stuff that I love with the locals, doing youth work, that's like the most rewarding thing. And this opportunity came up for the thing that I loved. And I went for it. And yeah, here I am in Kenya. I prepared a whole youth program for the outreach, and now I have an extra week, and I'm just spending time in a local village with my hosts who are really amazing, Peter and Winnie, and yeah, I'm just really enjoying my time.
And how has it been?
Oh, it's been amazing.
Right?
The youth work was fabulous. It was a week. It was a bit tiring because you have to be the first one there and the last one out, and you have to run the program, and these are completely new kids. And working with youth can be a bit difficult because you can't just like go in and give them teaching. It's all relational. You have to meet them where they are, and over time build friendships, and like that's where it comes from. And but it was like, it's fun. I love doing it, so I love meeting new people and chatting. So to meet them was really exciting, to know their stories, to share my stories. And then like over the last couple of days I was invited by an amazing family to go on their holiday with them, so we went to Samburu, and that was really fun, really amazing, and it was good to see all the animals there. I never thought I would do it, at my age right now, to be in Kenya doing all the things that I'm doing. My friends are like, just like, Rohan, what are you doing in Kenya? Like, what's going on? And I'm just saying, like, if I told you, you wouldn't even believe. You wouldn't even believe what I'm doing. But to do all those things was just like really fun. And yesterday we had like dinner at my host family's like wider family, and just to share community and life with them was really amazing.
Amazing.
Kenyan food, lovely.
Which is your favorite so far?
Chapati. Chapati is kind of Indian as well, but they have like the lentils.
Okay.
What is it? Dango?
Ndengu.
Dango. Fabulous.
Oh, you love them?
Fabulous. Love it. One thing I'm not a fan of is ugali.
Okay.
It's just like, I'd rather have rice or chapati any day, but not ugali.
Alright.
Good. But it's even better when like aunties make it for you and uncles, the homemade food is like the real.
Absolutely.
It's just, it's been amazing the last 2 weeks. I only have a couple more days left, but like it's been great. I love it.
Amazing. All right, so we have just a few minutes to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to speak to the young people, to people your age and people younger, the people that you minister to through the youth ministry. I don't know what God lays in your heart to tell them, but you have a chance to speak to some that are watching you.
Yeah.
Some probably who've been through the cycles that you went through, in the world, in church, mixed up, not knowing how to stand. What would you tell them?
Wow.
Looking into that
In the
camera.
camera.
Yeah.
I've been through it all to know what it is, kind of thing. I think the short answer will be, let me save you the trouble. Run to Jesus. That's the easy route. But it's definitely more than that. Don't just be Christian because your family's Christian, but because your friends are Christian or 80% of Kenya's Christian. Don't be Christian because of that. Be Christian because you love Jesus and you want more of Jesus and you're ready to give him all. And it's so hard, especially in the life that you're living in. There's definitely ups and downs and trying to mix in with the world. I've been through it to know, but just keep seeking Jesus through it all. Not religion, not what the church is saying, not what your friends are saying, but just keep seeking Jesus. Look at his life and the way he lived it and try and be more and more like him through service, the way you serve, put other people before you, be gentle in your approach, but just keep looking at Jesus, run to Jesus, keep speaking to him in everyday conversation, in your relationship. Even when there's ups and downs, there's stuff that you struggle with, just give it to Jesus and he's there for you because he loves you so much. And if you haven't experienced the love of Christ, just speak to him, be like Jesus. If you're there, I want to know more about you. And when he comes to meet you and you feel that love is enough to define your relationship, to define your faith in Christ, and that's the game changer. If you haven't experienced it, try and experience it. Speak to people that know Christ. Just be like, I want more. And even when it's difficult, you can always run back to him. Like, he's my best friend, and he's also your best friend as well. You can run back to him and tell him, like, Lord, I'm struggling with this. This sin is in the way. Like, how do I do it? And he will teach you. And there's no shortcut. There's no easy route of people telling you what to do and stuff. You have to figure it out. And the best part is Jesus is with you through every single minute of figuring it out. He's with you. It's not just in church that you find him. It's through every single minute of your day. So just keep speaking to him, and the more deeper you go in your relationship with him, the better it gets. I'm telling you, I'm living it right now. It's amazing. Yeah, try it out yourself.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you. It's a nice place to leave it at.
Yeah,
Thank you
okay.
for coming.
Thank you,
And
yeah.
than you for sharing your story with us.
Pleasure.
May God continue to use you.
Amen.
Yeah.
You
All
too.
right. Hope to have you back in Kenya again.
Soon.
Wow. What a show. I pray that you have been blessed and that your life has been changed, that your life will never be the same again. Please remember to share this link with as many people as you possibly can. And remember to come back and let's keep testifying and growing together in faith. My name is Sharon Aitore Wanganye. God bless you. Bye bye.